Being used inaccurately as a justification for a poor line of thinking is something I have a hard time not addressing. Grüezi miteinander, Gregory von Lebe Stark here. In a recent video, I talked about how Steve Maxwell mentioned Dan John, Brett Jones, and Pavel Tsatsouline in a podcast. If you want to watch this video to stay in the loop, then check it out right here. I believe that the information that Brett Jones shared in the Strong Firist forum needs to be out in public because it shows that Steve Maxwell maybe was misinformed, uninformed, or illogical. So here's what we're gonna do. I want to show you Brett Jones' reply first without giving you any comments. As you can see, that's him, Brett Jones, and that's the Strong Firist forum. And what I want to do as well is mention these guys, the Health Oddity podcast, because Steve Maxwell was on their podcast and then they had Brett Jones on. So to be a bit more specific on some of the misinformation stated on the podcast, any blanket statement of this activity causes this should be an immediate red flag. Dan has had one hip replacement, not two. Unless he had one as I'm unaware of, but I don't think so. I was Dan's team leader at his RKC in LA many years ago, and his hip was a problem at that time and was injured prior to kettlebells. Years throwing discus, Highland games, etc. DC Maxwell and her hip replacement. Was she only swinging on one leg? Why didn't the other hip need replacement? A very poor correlation and ignoring years of competitive BJJ and many other possible injuries. Pavel has one chronic elbow, not two, and it was from an accident, military related, not kettlebells. The only two exercises comment about that's all he can do now is just ignorant. It is about minimalism, not what Pavel is doing in his training. I have not had 9 knee surgeries. I have had 9 surgeries which I'm open about, not proud of. Without getting too much into detail, I have had a nose surgery, septoplasty, inguinal hernia long before kettlebells, unnecessary and related to HS wrestling. Maybe somebody can help me what HS wrestling is. Appendectomy, L5S1 laminectomy, bad squat attempt and HS wrestling injury, ventral hernia repair, poorly healed section from the appendectomy, melanoma removal with sentinel node biopsy, right knee surgery, throat biopsy for my recent cancer diagnosis and treatment. Kettlebells have been my rehab and training tool for coming on 20 years, and in fact after an MRI on my back a few years ago, the doctor commented that he would have assumed I was 10 years younger based on my back MRI. If you are going to use people as an example or justification, then you should get your facts straight, which he did not. And the comment about not taking advice from someone that has had joint replacement is another ignorant statement. This means we should not take advice from Riff, I think he's referencing Mark Reifkind, a wealth of knowledge because of his knee replacement. A replacement years in the making from significant gymnastics related injuries, not kettlebells. I'm usually loath to comment on things like this, but being used inaccurately as a justification for a poor line of thinking is something I have a hard time not addressing. His last statement is the reason why I'm doing this. Listen guys, disagreement I believe is fine because disagreement done well leads to advancement. So leaving this unaddressed would not be the right thing to do. There's a saying from Ray Dalio and it goes, don't hide your observations about people. So that means if somebody makes an observation about you, it's a good thing if you make it public because that way you give that other person a chance to answer. And Dan has had one hip replacement. I'm gonna ask Dan about this. And where did he get it from? Years throwing discus, Highland games. I said it as well in the original video. If you are an athlete that competes at a very high level, your body may pay the price depending on your genetic endowment. Taking a look at Ed Cohn, one of the greatest powerlifters ever, who says most people are lifting too heavy for too long. Just because you have been lifting too heavy for too long, you cannot blame the barbell because the barbell is just a piece of weight that is waiting there to be properly used. Pavel has one chronic elbow and it's not from an accident, it's military related. Wow. And the only 2 exercises comment, that's all he can do now is ignorant. It's about minimalism. So it's in the KISS principles. Keep it simple, stupid. Another rule that I like is the rule of least power. Another rule that I like is Yagni, you ain't gonna need it. Or less is more, LIM. So many principles that base around this idea of keeping things simple and easy to understand. And somebody even told me once, listen, if you cannot explain your coaching methodology in its very simplest form to a kid, in order for the kid to understand it, then maybe you're making things too hard or too complex. And his comment about his 9 surgeries and he had a recent cancer diagnosis, wow, that's tough stuff, man. Brett, if you're watching this, I'm wishing you a speedy recovery, wishing you all the best, praying for you, and that God may give you strength for this. So in that case, his surgeries have nothing to do with kettlebells, man. If you put a lot of lions, many lions into one den, you put a lot of alphas into one place, disagreement is bound to happen. And if we react emotionally, then breakups are bound to happen, which I think is sad, but it's human nature. That's why I believe we have to learn how to communicate. Angie just recently said, she said, we are inventing all these means of communication, but we don't know how to communicate. I think that was a powerful statement by Angie. So I believe that Steve Maxwell was wrong with his comments. He was uninformed, as we have now seen. Maybe he has an extra grind. That's the impression that I'm getting. I'm not saying that it is that way because I don't know the man's heart. It's just the impression that I'm getting. I'm just serving as a news hub right now because I want to know how these guys interact with each other, because I listen to all of them. It's just another reminder that disagreement done well can lead to advancement, and disagreement done bad can lead to fallouts and uninformed, misinformed, or illogical comments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it, consider subscribing if you want to see more kettlebell content. And if you're looking for a kettlebell program that builds you up from a beginner to a slowly advanced trainee in the course of about 3 months, and you maybe want to combine it with some easy to follow nutrition coaching because maybe you want to lose weight or you want to get in shape, then check out 90 Days of Kettlebells. You'll find the link in the description. 14-day free trial included.